Again, everyone. This is Julia Maxwell, the librarian for the Bloustein School and the School of Social Work. You recently joined me for part one of a three-part video series on library support for Bloustein graduate students. And now we're moving on to part two, which is searching for and locating materials in the library catalog and the library databases. So in the first part, we looked mostly at searching for resources and tools along with librarian assistance via the library website. The next two goals that we're going to tackle in this portion of the session are to develop search strategies that will help you more easily find materials for writing papers and doing scholarly research. We're also going to go through some of the key library databases for your field. So let's start by talking a little bit about the library catalog. So the library catalog, we're just going to go to the library homepage. The library catalog is searched via a search engine that we call Quick Search, which no matter where you go on the library website, there's always going to be the search bar for Quick Search right here. And the library catalog or Quick Search is everything that the library owns. So all of the physical books that we have in our collections in the libraries, the library buildings, along with all of the digital resources that we own. It also contains some, but not all, of the licensed resources that we have. So these would be things like journal articles from journals that we subscribe to, or movies from movie databases that we subscribe to. But it doesn't contain all of that. The way that we add to our collection beyond what's in Quick Search or the library catalog is by using library databases. These are resources that are subject specific. So they're collections of resources that are on a certain topic or within a certain discipline. And they usually entail journal articles, multimedia content, newspaper articles, book reviews, etc. So my advice is always to, when you're searching for library, for materials to use to write a paper or conduct scholarly research, you should combine a search in Quick Search with another search in a subject-specific database of your choice, whichever one makes sense to you for the research that you're doing. And we will go through how to locate library databases and how to kind of establish what your needs might be for the searches that you're doing. So that's my advice, and just a quick and dirty description of what the library catalog contains, what the databases contain, and how you can kind of combine them to create a really powerful search that gets you what you need for your research. So let's start by looking at Quick Search. Quick Search is, like I said, the library's database that kind of contains everything in its catalog. And for our purposes, I want to use Quick Search to establish an example search. Also, I apologize if you're hearing honking. There are people beeping outside of my window. But basically, I want to use Quick Search for an example topic, and I am going to pretend that we are searching for the use of solar power in urban environments. So I'm going to do a search in Quick Search, which again is the search bar in the library homepage for solar power and urban environments. Now you can see that I did a couple of things here. I put some stuff in quotes, I put an and in capital letters. These are some search tips and tricks that we'll cover here in a little bit, but for our purposes, I'm going to just go ahead and type this in, and then we will return to what those tips and tricks and what the punctuation means here in a little bit. So let's go ahead and search. So you can see immediately that we have online articles that are viewed online. You can immediately see what's peer reviewed, what's open access, which means it's available to everyone. You don't have to pay for it. Books, which you can see this is an online book. More articles. And then here on the side, you can see that we have filters. So filters are really helpful if you are trying to find, for example, a specific type of resource, or maybe you just want the most recent resources on a topic. So to me, filters kind of operate the same way that we do online shopping. So when you're looking for a piece of clothing and you need it in your specific size and in a specific color, that's this exact same way that you would use filters on any library search engine. So you can see here that we can limit it to peer-reviewed journals. We could also select articles, and that will distill everything down. You can also see that the chat pops up, so that's another way to chat with a librarian, as we discussed in part 1 of this video series. Maybe we want to just look at things that are the most recent to our to be in the research. So that would be by using creation date, or maybe we just want stuff from 1990, and that's all. I don't know if we'll get anything. Oh, there's a couple things. Yeah. All right, awesome. And then we can always reset our filters here. Let's find a book so that I can show you how to check things out. Okay, so this is not necessarily what I wanted because I wanted to show you how to check books, physical books out. So maybe we'll just do a more simple search so that we can find a physical book. Oh, now you can see we have a sound recording. All right, great. There we go. You can see I need to sign in here. All right, so this is what we call a catalog record, and this shows us where we have the book and how to find it. So you can see that we could, that this book is available. We could go to the Alexander Library on College Avenue, and we could use this call number to go get the book and then check it out at the circulation desk. But what if you're not near the Alexander Library? What if you are, for example, near the Douglas Library? Maybe you live over there, and it's much easier for you to pick the book up over there. You can click Request Item here. Use your pickup location to select Douglas Library or whatever library you choose, and then you can send your request. If you need just a chapter of the book, you could maybe make a digitation request, which would scan the title and send you the pages that you need to your inbox. So that is locating a physical book in the library. So now we've covered quick search. We've looked at some filters. We've kind of discerned that this is the library catalog and kind of what's in it and how to find different types or modalities of resources. But let's look at some library databases now. So like I said, databases are subject specific and contain articles from specific journals or other materials that are subscriptions that the library has licensed. So let's go ahead, and we're at the Rutgers Library's homepage again. We'll click on New Brunswick, and we'll go to search a subject-specific database. I find it's easiest to go to subject and actually just scroll down here, and we'll go to planning, public policy, and public administration. And this is really nice because up here at the top, it tells us the best bets for this field. So it's kind of like, these are the resources that are used, the databases that are used most often in your field. So for my purposes, I'm going to go ahead and just click on our social science premium collection. Now you can see that this interface looks a lot different than the interface that we were just using to search. But what I like to always tell people is that um, as long as you have a search bar, you're going to be good to go. Any library database will have a search bar, and they all operate very similarly. So you can use the strategies that we're going to talk about today pretty much regardless of where you're searching. And that to me is always really helpful. You can also see that we have filters in a similar way. So let's go ahead and do a search and just see what we find. And again, we'll talk about the punctuation that I just used. So you can see these are a little bit different results than the ones that I was getting in quick search, which is good. That means that we're going to be getting more from our search. And again, we can limit to source type. So if you only want scholarly journals, let's say you only want peer review. Sometimes it can be helpful to filter by subject. So this is like, what category would you put this in? So maybe we really only want to look at things that are in the development field. That can be really helpful as well. So you can see that even though this is a different interface than the first thing we looked at, it operates very similarly, which can be really helpful. Another thing that most databases will have is a little citation button. It usually looks something like this, and it says cite, and it will be on the page of the article that you're looking at. And that will cite the article for you in the style of your preference. So considering that we are in the social sciences, we will probably use some iteration of APA. So if I want APA 7th, records it for me. I can copy and paste it, or I can export it to a citation manager, which is something we will talk about in part 3. So that's a database. We'll go back here and look at the rest of our databases. So again, these are organized based on the subject. So all of these would be helpful, but again, the best bets up here at the top is definitely where I would start when I'm searching. Another thing I would like to show you is using Google Scholar. So Google Scholar can be another really powerful tool when you are searching. And one thing that we have access to as Rutgers affiliates is that we get to customize our Google Scholar to tell us whether or not Rutgers Libraries has the articles that we're looking at in Google Scholar. So what I just did there was just go to Google Scholar, I clicked About, and then I'm going to click Customize My Library Links, and you can see that I have already put that Rutgers is where I would like to kind of search through. So I'm going to save that. And then let's just try solar power and, and urban. Let's try that. And then you can see here on the side that we have these get it at R links. So what that does is it will take us right to the library record for the articles in Google Scholar that we're interested in. So this is a really easy way, instead of clicking on the articles in Google Scholar and then having to figure out whether or not we can get behind the paywall, this just routes us right through the library to make sure that we get it for free every time, which is really nice. So that is everything that I have to share for library databases and quick search. And now I would like for us to turn our attention to some of the library pro tips, the strategies and search tips and tricks that we can use to ensure that our searches are more powerful and more efficient.
And let's just think a little bit about what might happen if we typed the full research topic into any of our search bars, regardless of the database. Um, if we typed that entire topic into the search bar, what we think might happen. Now, I would hazard a guess that what would occur is that we would get probably less specific results than those that we would get if we used some of the search tips and tricks that you've seen me use so far in this presentation and some of the ones that we'll learn here in a bit. The reason for that is that when you type words into any search engine, the search engine is going to pull articles, materials, what have you, from its database that match the words that you're using when you type them into the search bar. So the more words that you're typing into the search bar, and the less specific you're telling the search engine to be, the more it's going to pull up things that maybe are not necessarily as accurate or specific or necessary to what you're looking for than if you use some of our search tips and tricks. So in general, we want to kind of think about how to make our search more specific than just typing in the entire topic or a couple words of the topic into the search engine. And again, this is for any database, whether it be using Quick Search or Google or one of the databases that I just showed you, like we looked at ProQuest. So this goes for any of those, all of these tips and tricks. So the first thing we might want to do is think about how to break down our search into keywords. So one thing we might want to do when we look at our topic is to think about how we would convey the most important points or the most important words of our topic to a search engine. So if we're thinking about solar power used among urban environments, our key terms probably become solar power, urban environments, and I would kind of leave it at that, right? But then we also want to think about related terms because some articles might use words that are very similar to our keywords but are not the same. So these would be synonyms, things like renewable energy, solar panels instead of solar power, cities instead of urban environments, etc. And I would suggest just using a thesaurus or looking, we mentioned in our search of the database, looking at the subjects. So I'd look at those subjects and see what are some other similar words that are being used that we could add to our list. And then I would physically make a list of all of these and start trying them in combinations with each other and keeping track of what is working. The next thing that that I highly recommend you do is to put your keywords or your related terms in quotation marks. This tells the search engine that a phrase should be considered in its entirety. So instead of just searching the word solar and the word power, then you're telling the search engine, I want you to pull up materials that have the entire phrase solar power in it. So that is another way to kind of specify your search to allow you to get kind of more specific results. And then finally, we have parentheses. So parentheses allow you to layer complex queries. So as you're searching, you're going to find that a lot of times you need to kind of tell the search engine, okay, this is kind of one thing I want you to search for, but then I want you to bring up materials with this other portion of the query. So do it all together, but you need to kind of delineate the same way that you might with order of operations in high school math. To ensure that the search engine kind of understands, okay, prioritize this, but also search for this. So you might use parentheses for that as well. You might have noticed that I'm using capital and capital or in some of my examples here, and I used those in our example searches earlier in this video as well. So those are what's called Boolean operators, and they are the words and, or not in caps. So what these do are tell the search engine to combine the words or phrases that we're searching in different ways. So if we're searching using the word and as a Boolean operator, we're telling the search engine to search for both phrases or words together. I want you to pull up articles that have one and the other, only articles that have both. If we're using or, we are telling the search engine to search for one word or phrase or the other. So you can pull up words or pull up articles that have the word cities, or you could pull up articles that have the phrase urban environments. And then we can think a little bit about using the word not as well. So not comes in handy when we're getting results that maybe have words or phrases that we know are not going to work for our search, but they keep coming up anyway. So if you're trying to search for solar power, and a lot of the articles that come up are using examples with hydroelectric power, and you're like, that's not what I'm looking for, you can say solar power, not hydroelectric power, which can help the search engine understand a little bit more of like what to bring up for you and what to leave out. Finally, we have the wildcard or asterisk trick. The asterisk tells the database to search for the root word or any ending, or to sub in any letter where the asterisk is in the word. So, for example, if you search teen with an asterisk, it will search for the word teen with all of its endings. So teenager, teenagers, teenage, etc. Same thing goes for, like I said, if you put that word with a star, it will substitute any letter for the star. So if you're searching for woman, WOM star N, it will search for woman with an A or women with an E. That is another way to kind of broaden your search out a little bit to include some of the words that might be used by different materials, but are not being searched because the database is specifically looking for the word that you typed. All right, and that concludes part 2 of our video series. I hope you stay tuned for part 3, where we'll talk mainly about citation management. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Stay tuned for part 3.